Yep, it's time to talk about the greatest cartoon ever created. Kim Possible is great, Sonic Boom is funny, Billy and Mandy is wacky as all hell, Tom and Jerry is an absolute classic, but none of them compare to the greatness of Ed, Edd and Eddy. Oh yeah, it's that series featuring these three idiots in their never-ending summer vacation quest to scam the cul-de-sac kids out of all their money in order to score some jawbreakers. We have Eddy, the cocky, selfish leader of the group. We have Ed, the brainless but unrealistically strong member. And we have Double D, the brains of the outfit. Also featured, we have Kevin, the jock of the cul-de-sac, and a massive hater of the Edds. There's Sarah, Ed's spoiled younger sister. Jimmy, Sarah's timid best friend. Johnny, the socially awkward kid with a tendency to get on people's nerves. Rolf, the quirky foreigner of the cul-de-sac. There's Naz, the good-natured tomboy often seen as attractive by many male characters. And then, living in a trailer park adjacent to the cul-de-sac, there's the Canker Sisters, a trio of girls with serious romantic feelings towards the Edds, sometimes going to the point of stalking and kidnapping the Edds to do God knows what to them. When it comes to home video releases of Ed, Edd and Eddy, I actually have very little. The series was never given a full box set release, which is an absolute shame as far as I'm concerned. I only have one DVD and a handful of episodes in recordable Fridays. I did once watch a 5-hour marathon on Cartoon Network back in 2008, but because I'm a massive fucking idiot, I never recorded it onto video or DVD. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I have very little in my collection, but I've been dying to talk about my history with the Edds for a long time. So I say, let's go for it. This is Ed, Edd and Eddy, the way I remember it. Ed, Edd and Eddy airs for the first time in the UK on March 15th, 1999. At this point, I had on digital, and thus access to Cartoon Network, so I'm willing to bet I was watching. The first thing that comes to mind is an advert involving Plank, the inanimate friend of Johnny's that's just a piece of wood with crayon eyes and a smile.
Where's the stuff, Planky? Fess up!
You can still make it, Plank! Help me! My Johnny!
Plank reminds me of fresh-cut spring flowers.
You think they saw anything, Plank?
Plank, tougher than your average 2x4. Only on Ed, Edd and Eddy on Cartoon Network.
Knock him dead, buddy!
And then there's this, Smelly Telly. It was a weird gimmick run by European Cartoon Network in May 2000. For a few weeks, various TV guides, including on digital, featured these scratch and sniff cards for select cartoons. One of them being Ed, Edd and Eddy. I actually had my own at one point. I'm sitting on the living room floor watching the first episode, The Ed Touchables. Towards the end, the episode pauses and the TV announcer tells us to scratch the cards and take a big whiff. I'm guessing the card was meant to smell like a jawbreaker, but I don't remember smelling anything. It was of course 19 years ago, so what do I know? Season 1 airs from 1999 to 2000 on very primitive Cartoon Network. I have that, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, various bits and bobs. Despite my love for the series and my willingness to watch it anytime, any place, I am pretty indifferent to Season 1. The second episode, Nag to Ed, is actually my least favourite episode in the entire series. I find that episode to be really boring. And honestly, I may actually have a reason for why Season 1 is my least favourite. It's Ed. I've always considered him to be my favourite character, purely because of how over the top his brainlessness is. As far as I'm concerned, he has all the best moments in the series.
Tippy toes!
That's the competitive spirit, Ed!
I'm a gym bag!
Ed actually has very few memorable moments in Season 1. He's kind of just there. In fact, if you listen to him in the pilot episode and then jump ahead a season or two, you could honestly believe there was someone else portraying him.
Hey Johnny, nice haircut. Double D's got a surprise for you.
I claim this planet in the name of Ed, bringer of bacon.
So Season 1 isn't super great, but still watchable. It's not unbearable like the Best Wishes saga of Pokemon. I can still watch it if I'm going through the entire series. But if I had to pick a single season to watch, I'd pick this one last. Season 1 does have some good parts, like the episode where the Edds borrow Rolf's goat to eat the cul-de-sac's grass. But at the same time, Seasons 2 through 5 just happen to offer more for me. Flash forward to 2000 and Season 2 premieres. This season is immensely better. Prior to this season, I'm convinced Ed suffered a severe blow to the head as his level of intelligence drops severely.
Double D! Donut! Whoa! Can I lick the bowl, Double D?
This is where things get a bit more zany and more slapstick heavy, as if the writers felt a little bit more comfortable in their production positions. It feels to me that they were playing it relatively safe in Season 1, with storylines revolving around playing hide and seek and going to a sprinkler party to survive a heatwave. In Season 2, they take a more wacky direction and introduce stories where the Eds try to learn how everything around them works, leading to their imaginations going haywire, or Eddy becoming severely pissed off with Ed's imaginary friend and trying to capture and dispose of him. An imaginary friend, bear in mind, a being that is not really there. Or how about that episode where Ed develops toothache? There's a good idea, kids. If you have a loose tooth, biting a brick is 100% safe. Sure, the storylines became zany and ridiculous, but also highly entertaining. I guarantee, if I were 6 years old again, and I was recently introduced to the show, Season 2 would have had a better chance of winning me over than Season 1. If I had to compare it to something, I'd point to Fast and Furious 4. The first movie does okay, but the ending to Fast 4 is what made me a fan of that series. Next, in 2001, we have Season 3. Couple of things to go over here, some positives and some negatives. First of all, the positives. This is easily the best season of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. It has both my favourite episode and my girlfriend's favourite episode. And both centre around Ed, surprise surprise. First of all, we have my favourite. It came from Outer Ed. After being tricked into saving Jimmy from an evil monster that is really just Double D on stilts, Ed has a sudden brainwave for a scam involving a teapot, a stack of pancakes, a teddy bear, a cement mixer painted like an Aztec temple, a pile of rocks, and a junkyard marked with red X's, even though it's very clearly a Q and not an X. Q marks the spot apparently. Long story short, his idea wasn't for a scam, but to recreate a curse he read in a comic book. Even after more than 17 years, I can't help but laugh myself silly at this episode.
Ed, I think somewhere along the line you lost your train of thought. Your plan is irrational, muddled, and inconsequential. Is that a doggy treat?
What's the rock for, Double D?
And then there's the day the Ed stood still, where Ed develops a new life goal.
Monster! I want to be a monster!
My girlfriend has been a massive fan of Godzilla and the Alien franchise for as long as I can remember. Pair that with the craziness of Ed and you have a match made in heaven. That's the positive aspect of Season 3. It's truly a tremendous season. Now for the negative side. I'm 8 years old when Season 3 runs on TV. A while back I talked about the effect TV can have on a child's brain. There's a certain word that is used frequently in the show. It was used quite regularly by Kevin. Every fan of the show knows what word I'm talking about.
I have no idea what you're dorking about.
Oh, you know what I'm dorking about!
Yep, the word dork. Forget that it's a synonym for penis. By the time Season 3 aired, I had developed a habit of referring to anyone I disapproved of as a dork, to the point of really pissing off my mother. In no time, she reached breaking point, and I was forbidden to watch Ed, Edd, and Eddy anytime in the vicinity of her. The worst bit about this is that On Digital had gone bankrupt at this point, so I no longer had the luxury of Cartoon Network in my bedroom. Since I was also at school at this time, I also had little to no access to the living room TV. So as a result, I missed a fair bit of Season 3 and 4, which was really just Part 2 of Season 3. It was more or less the same great content, barring the most infamous episode of the series, If It Smells Like an Ed. I still don't know why Jimmy felt the need to go after Double D and Ed when Eddy was the main asshole in that moment. The entire plot felt incredibly dumb with that episode, even by Ed, Edd, and Eddy standards. The only times I was able to watch the show freely was when I was sleeping over at my father's or my grandmother's. My father wasn't aware of the ban on the Eds until much later, at least until 2004. As for my grandmother, she was a lot more lenient. This is the woman who spent 70 quid on this model of Gordon, so she obviously wasn't going to forbid me from watching a stupid cartoon. At this point, it's 2005, I'm 12 years old, and cartoons were running late at night on Cartoon Network every night at 11 PM. Happy, happy times. By now, I suspect my mother had eased up on her bitterness towards the show. I was allowed to watch cartoons as long as I went straight to bed afterwards. Fine, not a problem. I can't quite recall if she knew that Ed, Edd, and Eddy was part of that nightly lineup, but she was always in bed by midnight, the original Cartoon's time slot for the Eds. As long as I kept the volume down, she didn't have a clue. I suspect she really didn't have a clue because I don't recall being allowed to watch the show during the day. At this time, all we had was a Sky Plus box in the living room and an old Telewest box in her bedroom. So at the very minimum, I was only watching it at night. Flash forward to 2006 and we approach what I consider to be my favourite period of Cartoon Network. As previously stated, we had a Sky Plus box in the living room. Around this time, Sky was offering a service known as Sky Multiroom. Pay, I think, an additional $10 a month and you can have a second Sky Plus box in another room. In this case, my bedroom. So now I can watch Cartoon Network whenever I wanted, without interruptions. It feels so good. And if that weren't enough, something else was approaching.
See that? Didn't see that.
What can people understand? I gotta show attention.
Kinda reminds me of the day my brother told me cartoons weren't real.
Whatever. The brand new series of Ed, Edd, and Eddy starts 30th of October on Cartoon Network.
Oh, ya fucking beauty. New content on the way, and I have Sky TV in my bedroom. Things could not possibly get any better. In October 2006, Season 5 of Ed, Edd, and Eddy airs, and man is it different. For one thing, the show had a new animation style. Cell animation was used for Seasons 1 through 4, but now the show's gone digital. Gotta get with the times. And then there's the storylines. Finally, after 4 seasons, summer vacation is over and the kids are finally returning to school, in this case, Peach Creek Junior High. It doesn't mean much really, only just over half the episodes in Season 5 actually feature the school, and a few times it's only seen briefly. Back in 2007, I probably thought Season 5 was the best season the show had to offer. In retrospect, not so much. I still love the show, and this season was a winner for me. But at the same time, it's hard to beat Season 3. That season still holds up the best. If anything, Season 5 felt like a hybrid of Seasons 1 and 4. The plots feel a tad more serious in Season 5, similar to the early Season 1 episodes, but with the comedic elements from Season 3 and 4. So if I had to rank it, Season 3 is obviously at the top, Season 1 is at the bottom, and Season 2 is second from the bottom. Very good, but things still get better. And I suspect Seasons 4 and 5 tie for second. It's really close for them. Both seasons do things right and things wrong. And then there's the seasonal specials. These I didn't see until much later. I don't quite recall these airing on Cartoon Network at any point. If they did, I must have missed them. We have the Christmas one, the Halloween one, the Valentine's Day one, and this one, as well as the one Season 6 episode, May I Have This Ed, and Look Before You Ed. Honestly, I don't know why this episode isn't counted as Season 5. It would have completed the traditional 13 episode season format perfectly fine. As for the specials, they're okay, more or less the same. As far as I'm concerned, The Eds Are Coming is the best special. Easily the most entertaining. Jimmy dreams some weird shit. On the other hand, he's a pretty terrific ice sculptor. By 2008, I thought that was it for Ed, Edd, and Eddy. I was still watching daily cartoon content between 3 Cartoon Network channels and 2 Disney channels, but nothing new was really popping up. Then this happened.
In case of movie break glass.
Bingo!
A peanut?
Cheap movie.
Ed, Edd, and Eddy's Big Picture Show. World premiere Sunday night at 7, only on Cartoon Network.
Oh my god, there's gonna be a movie. That is awesome! Finally, we reach Ed, Edd, and Eddy's Big Picture Show. Oh, where do I begin with this? It's a pretty normal day in the cul-de-sac. Well, sort of. A scam has gone horribly wrong, and now the kids all want the Eds. Dead. They are out for blood. And when I say the kids, I mean Kevin, Rolf, Johnny, and Nez. Jimmy and Sarah are sort of just there doing their own thing, making a movie of all things. They only witness a brief portion of the carnage and decide to tag along. It's never explicitly mentioned what the scam was, but we do get a few glimpses of the alleyway in the opening scene, and it looks a bit like a war zone. So shit has gone horribly wrong, and the Eds need to flee the cul-de-sac immediately, before the kids murder them. But where do they go? Where could they possibly go where they'd be safe from the kids?
My big Bruce, please!
Yep, they're going to seek sanctuary with Eddie's brother. This movie is basically one big road movie where every character travels from the cul-de-sac to the location of Eddie's brother. And yes, we do see him. Okay, let's just cut to the chase. This movie is an absolute love letter to any Ed, Edd and Eddy fan, and is easily the best production in the series since season 3, even eclipsing that in certain places. It could even be one of the greatest animated movies of all time for me. It's not my favourite, that honour goes to Toy Story 2, but my god is it up there. This movie well and truly has everything, and I mean everything. Every major location is featured, even Peach Creek Junior High and the trailer park each make an appearance, because where would an Ed, Edd and Eddy movie be without the cankers? Not only does every location appear, but so does every single character, each heading for the same destination with one of two goals: kill the Eds or save the Eds. Or eat hot dogs in the case of Wilfred. Even that fucking pig of Rolf's makes an appearance. You watch this movie, and you'll notice within the first few minutes that they went all out for this one. They covered every single base possible. Everything and everyone is seen, and the references to previous episodes go off the charts. They reference Ed's love for comic books and sponges, Double D's obsession with labelling his environment, Eddie's love for pranks as shown quite often in the movie, especially at the Lemon Brook Gag Factory. We get to see Johnny dress up once again as Captain Melonhead. They reference the friendship song from If It Smells Like an Ed. We see Eddie's brother's bedroom again, and we see other forms of Ed we haven't seen in 10 years. Remember in Ed and Seek from season 1 where Ed hides in an ancient black and white cartoon to avoid being caught by Jimmy? You see it in this movie. What about Old Ed from Take This Ed and Shove It? As nonsensical as it is, we see him as well. Like I said, absolutely everything you can imagine in this series is referenced at least once. Well, almost everything. We still don't see what's under Double D's hat. It was hinted at in the months leading up to the release. We see him lose his hat, but his head is still obscured. Antonucci, you motherfucker! Even without that, and without spoiling the ending, I can safely say that this is one of the greatest things ever produced for Cartoon Network. I love it to absolute death. As much as I love the series, this was a perfect closer, and I have no problems with it being the end of the show. There were talks about there being an actual season 6 continuing on from where the movie left off, but evidently that idea was cancelled and the movie was left as the definitive ending. Here we are, 20 years later, and what a ride it has been. 5 seasons, 4 specials, 1 movie, and no regrets from me. Well, there is one regret. As I stated earlier, as of this review, there still hasn't been a complete series DVD release for the show, nor has there been anything for the movie. That is an absolute crime. One of the biggest shows Cartoon Network has ever featured, and very little to show for it in home media. I share a similar feeling to Kim Possible, but at least I still have that on Amazon Prime, as well as the movies on DVD. There have been a few DVDs of Ed, Edd and Eddy. They released Season 1 and 2 on DVD. I guess Season 2 ain't that bad. Nothing compared to Season 3, of course. Speaking of which, Season 3 was released exclusively in Thailand. I've heard that release is quite hard to find these days, so good luck with that. There's Edifying Adventures, which I own, featuring 6 episodes from Season 1 and 2, as well as a music video called My Best Friend Plank. There's Phil's Paradise. Wow, that title sucks. That DVD has 6 episodes ranging from Phil on the Ed from Season 1 to Take This Ed and Shove It from Season 4. Unfortunately, that was only released in Region 1, so unless us British people have a multi-regional DVD player, that one is out of the question. The series is available on Amazon Prime, but an easy episode check will show how incomplete the Amazon sets are. Apparently all 5 seasons are available on iTunes. That's great and all if you use iTunes. I have never used it, and my knowledge of iTunes is about as vague as a 70-year-old using modern technology. What we really need is a complete box set with all 5 seasons, as well as the specials and the movie, similar to what we have with TV shows such as Rescue Me or How I Met Your Mother. I don't care about the price, I will be happy to pay for it. There's not much I can say at this point. I've stated the obvious multiple times before, but Cartoon Network was my life in those days, and Ed, Edd and Eddy held a strong place in my youthful heart. It all lasted until 2011, when Cartoon Network underwent a massive reboot, and the Edds were effectively removed from Cartoon Network for good, pretty much never to be seen on UK TV again. The first half of 2011 was not a fun month in the slightest. But something did happen in that year that I'd like to talk about. Something almost as big as my love for the Edds.